Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed, hello, everybody. How you all doing?
Hello, everybody out there. We are joined today by a very, very special guest. Chris Mayo is an actor, comedian, writer, content creator, and the brains behind Big Fat Cult, which has now amassed 65,000 followers on TikTok. Go and follow his account, please. Welcome to the show. Hello, Chris.
Thank you very much, guys. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. How is
no
everyone?
problem at all. We're
Yeah,
good.
very
We're
well,
good.
thank you. We were saying just before we started, it's very nice to see you from the comfort of our own homes when we can hear properly without having to lean like inches from your face because we're in a very loud cinema foyer.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet you guys at Fright Fest, but yeah, what I can remember of the conversation is minimal.
It's like,
Oh,
hello, it's you.
It was
Do you like horror films or
busy.
something?
I was running entirely on caffeine and pick and mix, so yeah, no, it's nice to see you guys in more controlled environment.
Definitely. And if you're running on only pick and mix, a very expensive business if you purchase it from the cinema, right?
It is, yeah. I didn't think it through. Day 2, I was into the overdraft.
Yeah. I think living on cinema pick and mix, arguably, it's more cost effective to just buy cocaine and gold and just be living off that.
Yeah, it's hard to get the brand deals though when that's your
true.
Modus operandi.
I know, but then again, the core product probably has a greater resale value. Then again, people probably pay a pretty penny pick and mix out the front.
They definitely do. I mean, yeah, if you're addicted to something, flumps is probably the way to go, right?
Retro.
Yeah. Oh, I love a good
Do they
flump.
still make flumps?
Oh, hell yeah. They do, but they're like individually packaged long ones now you get.
£4.50.
Yeah, either that or probably entirely keeping them not on the high street market afloat, right? You know, put them in little glass jars, put a little ribbon around the top.
Personalized flump.
Personalized flump. I like it. With your name somehow in the marshmallow. Don't know how that would work, but I'll go for it.
Welcome to the Products and Marketing Podcast, a podcast where
But you did enjoy Fright Fest, didn't you, Chris? You had a good time?
I did, yes. It was the first time I've done it as a sort of a business venture, I suppose, going as a content person. So it was a little intense running around interviewing people and trying to see as many films as possible and have a sort of content brain on and then go home after 12 hours and then try and edit stuff and get it up the next morning. And it was great. Met lots of nice people that I chatted to on email, people that I hadn't met before. Saw a very wide cross-section of stuff from all levels. So yeah, no, it was really good fun. How about you guys?
Yeah, I had a brilliant time. I think there's still a couple of films that I'm now really eagerly just because sometimes they clash, right? You have to make a choice, or we didn't get the seats for both of them. So there's still a couple of films I'm really eagerly watching out for coming to other places where I can watch them as the year comes along. Really lovely to meet loads of people. Really lovely for us. It was the first live event we've covered. We're over 300 deep on doing episodes like this, but this was our first real out and about cameras, mics, filming things live. We had some very nice comments about it. So yeah, really pleased. More of that once we got the time for it.
Yeah, and it was good fun. And every time I spotted somebody, I was like, I know that person from online. You yourself included, Chris, made a beeline for you. So glad to have caught you then, and glad to get you on the show now, which is awesome.
Before we move on from Fright Fest, Ben, though, like a couple of months after now, so we've got another Fright Fest alumni in there. So Chris, a couple of months on since the event, are there any of the films that you saw that obviously we're all very excited in the moment and we're thinking, oh, that was great. Now things have had a little time to settle. You had time to digest a little bit. Are there any films that you're still thinking back on that you think, oh, that was really good? Is there anything threatening your top films of the year list from what you saw this summer?
Oh, I would say everything was of a high quality. There was nothing, like, with no disrespect to the Fright Fest program over the years. There have been years where the quality has been less good, shall we say, or more varied. This year, I would say the standard was very high consistently. I saw a lot of very good stuff. One of my favorites was Faceless After Dark. That was a very good film with Jenna Cannell from the first Terrifier film. That was a sort of very... Did you see that?
I didn't catch that one. I was in something else at the time.
That was a fun sort of intense slasher. That was very good. My Mother's Eyes was one of the weirder films that I saw that was more... took me a while to think about afterwards. All gone out of my head.
Did you see Did you see Founders Day?
Yes, I did. And that's sort of one that's having a release soon, right? Because I've been seeing people talking about that on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I thought that was relevant to this film because
obviously lovely pairing, wouldn't it make?
A lovely pairing it would make.
Yeah. I had mixed feelings about it, but I thought it was a little bit cheesy, maybe, but it was it had some good moments.
I think Founders Day. So obviously 2023 has been quite a big year for slashers, especially like new slashers that aren't related to an already existing franchise. Obviously, we've had things like Founders Day, which obviously is getting a major release next year, so we could kind of count that as this year. Thanksgiving, of course, Totally Killer, It's a Wonderful Knife. Any that I'm missing there? I feel like
until you have Totally Killer, very back end of the year holiday festivals slashers then, which brings me to where we should ask for anyone funding films out there, give us the money, I will produce Boo Year's Eve, the New Year's Eve slasher film, which is purely based on a title so far, but I won't disappoint you.
Sold.
Yeah, sold. He keeps dropping it in there. That's right. I like
Brand
it.
recognition, Ben. You got to repeat it a few times. Maximize the SEO.
That's true. I was kind of just thinking, like, I can't remember in recent memory there being so many like new slashers. I mean, if I went back and looked into it,
the last good one I can remember is probably Happy Death Day or Happy Death Day 2, Happy 2 Death, whatever it was. Those two were very good. I thought.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just thinking like, oh wait, I thought another one, Punch. Another.
Oh, I like that. Actually, that was one of my surprise ones at the festival. I just really liked it. I thought it was going to be good in a sort of good, bad, slightly rough around the edges way, but I just really thought it was good fun.
Yeah,
I laughed a lot, and it was very, very gory,
and some great kills as well.
Very good.
But the thing I was kind of thinking is that I feel like most slasher movies kind of lose something for me when the reveal happens of a slasher. And I was discussing this previously, where I was saying all of these slashers are kind of like whodunit slashers, where obviously we do find out who the killer is, and it is a character that we're familiar with throughout the film. Is it about time we get a new slasher who isn't just a person in the film? Is it about time we get a new icon, a new slasher icon,
a new Freddy, a new Jason,
a new supernatural slasher icon, possibly?
Terrifier perhaps hinted at that.
Okay, there we go. Yep, great. Yep, that makes total sense.
Terrifier 3, which is going to be a Christmas film.
Yeah.
Spiritual, paranormal Christmas film. I saw.
Maybe that's it then. Yeah.
I saw Slaughterhouse the other day.
Oh, I've not got around to that yet. How is it?
No, me neither.
Well, it is what it. Imagine. I mean, actually, it's worse than you would imagine, I would say.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be great, like carnage. I actually had to turn it off three quarters of the way through.
Oh no!
You'll never know how it ends now. Will they escape the deadly sloth?
It just got really good.
I'll go back to it, but it was a real paracetamol kind of, stop halfway and have a little sit down kind of film.
Just need a little break. Yeah. Just give me a break.
Yeah, it was a lot to process.
Maybe Art the Clown is the one then, because I mean I've not been totally blown away by Terrifier 1 and 2, but I feel like in terms of the grand scheme, like in terms of the horror community, they've really gravitated towards Art the Clown, the filmmakers in particular, and the stars as well. So perhaps, it should be the next step.
Is there a lot of Art the Clown costumes this Halloween? A lot of people in them.
I did see quite a few on Instagram. Yeah.
maybe that's
Have
it
you
then.
dressed
'Cause
up at Halloween, either of you? Obviously, we're a couple of weeks gone now, but do you have any Halloween costumes that you dressed up as? Who would be
No.
your go-to from this year's horror? Art the Clown seems like the easy one, or the good one that you pick up, iconic characters.
does it
Uh,
does it count, Chris, when you dressed up for the little horror TikTok short that you made?
oh, that was at my work actually, because I work part-time in a horror escape room. So I
Oh,
have
okay.
access to lots of horror props and bits and bobs.
I see.
So I filmed that there, which was on Halloween.
So there you go. That
Yeah.
counts as dressing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wore one of those comedy axes as well, where it looks like you've got an axe through your head and it's just a hairband.
Oh no.
But it only had the image on the front, so people could only see from the front. Otherwise, they would just see a bit of plastic from behind.
That man's got a bit of plastic in his head. Look out. Still could hurt.
But no, as a horror villain, I don't know who I would. I would probably go as like Pearl or something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
Pearl's a good one.
That's a great shout. Yeah, definitely.
Especially Pearl or young Pearl or both.
Yeah, well, the more drunk I got, I would gradually transform into
just put more and more like wrinkles on your outfit as the night goes
into
on.
Into the X Pearl. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike a whodunit slasher. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying there's been a lot this year, and I feel like we do need a new icon. If it's going to be
you want more supernatural coming in, you need.
I don't even necessarily need out and out supernatural, but just like I like with Art the Clown, the one thing I did like about it is that it's not really present and it's just hinted at the end of Terrifier 2, isn't it? So that's kind of cool. The fact that we don't get an origin story for this character so much either. I think that's good. I like that.
When you say supernatural villain, do you mean aliens with chainsaws, or do you mean sort of like possession-y type things?
I guess I mean like when I say supernatural, of course, I know out and out Michael Myers isn't necessarily supernatural, but could be.
Get pushed into a metal grinding machine as much as any of us could.
Just someone who's like, them as a killer, that their identity is like a Jason, a Leatherface.
I think you've spoken, Ben. They'll have to hurry up and give us a new Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not going to argue against that.
Did I not see this week that there was something had been leaked, like some sort of slate from? Is it New Line? Is it New Line?
New Line is the Nightmare on Elm Street studios.
I swear that I saw something on Twitter saying a slate had been leaked and a Nightmare on Elm Street was on it.
Okay.
For the next couple of years.
And we've got like a Crystal Lake series coming up soon, haven't we, as well? I'm not sure if it's been trailered yet, but we've got posters that are live. But it's prequel series, right? Isn't it? So it's a lot of probably a lot of Pamela Voorhees saying, for fuck's sake, watch my kid, all right? Don't let him drown, whatever you do. And loads of people going, no, I won't. Stop saying it. And
don't have any premarital
at the end of the series. Who knows?
To be looking after little Jason. Yeah, but I think a whodunit slasher, I think they've still got a lot of legs. I was definitely enjoyed this, but of course we'll save that for once we get into the review of the film. I guess we should talk a little bit about Big Fat Cult then, Chris. How did that come about? How did that start? And yeah, I guess for listeners who aren't familiar with it, like what is the gist of it?
It started like all great ideas during lockdown after many beers in the afternoon. It was I actually started it because I wanted to sell off a load of stuff that I had to make a bit of money during lockdown, and I happened to have a lot of cult films and film related stuff. So I set up an eBay shop and gave it the name Big Fat Cult, so I could try and find a niche of selling cult films and bits and bobs that I had lying around. And then I started during lockdown. I started buying stuff to sell that was within film, TV, horror, and then thought, oh, okay, I could maybe support that by talking about films, because there was a lot of comedians I knew that were doing stuff online and a lot of actors. So I just started up a podcast, also called it the same thing, Big Fat Cult Movie Podcast. That started going quite well, and then did a bit of TikTok stuff as well, and then kind of decided to keep everything under the same brand and focus on horror, movies, TV, pop culture. And yeah, they're all still running in one guise or another, but it ended up being the TikTok stuff that really took off for me in terms of film reviews and focusing on weird and wonderful movies and more obscure horror. And then gradually over the following months was kind of decided to cover all film, really.
I think
my passion is still the weird and wonderful.
Sorry, Chris. I was just going to say, the first time I stumbled across your account, I think it was on a live where you were potentially just saying, give me a film and I'll review it. Or was it something like that? It was something like that, wasn't it? I remember you posing in front of a nice wall of movie posters and discussing them like that.
Yes. I think, I think it was like, what's your favorite horror movie, or what are your favorite weird films? And then I just got, lots of hours of people saying, what do you mean you haven't seen Interstellar? And then I sort of
call yourself a film expert and you haven't seen this? Is that what there's only so many films I can watch, please.
Yeah.
Do you find that's a challenge sometimes when you've got someone who is maybe, especially when you're interacting in that way, and someone brings to you in front of you like, this is the film, I'd recommend it so much? Do you feel the kind of pressures if you have to come back and either say, oh, I haven't seen that, or worse yet, that's boring, didn't like it?
Yeah, TikTok's a weird one because you get the hardcore film fans on both ends of the scale, I guess. So you have the really hardcore kind of like arty world cinema film fans, and then you get the Marvel and Christopher Nolan and Scorsese sections where they're obsessed with those kind of films, and vice versa. So there's no pleasing everyone on that scale. I sort of move around, I love a bit of everything, but I would say I've probably seen more of the unusual side of cinema rather than the Hollywood side.
Well,
so
at least you're lampshading that with the cult thing, right? So you're saying, they're talking about cult movies and yeah. Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's people have a lot of opinions on the internet, it turns out.
Yeah.
But that's good, because I guess that's what gets the engagement going, is when people are having those conversations, whether they're agreeing with you or disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Do feel free to agree with people. Come on, be nice.
Yeah, well, yeah. I saw Five Nights at Freddy's and gave my thoughts on that, and that sparked a whole thing with everyone under 16.
Oh yeah, kids today, they love a bit of Five Nights at Freddy's. That's their version of mine suddenly goes blank of anything I liked as a child. But
Pogs. Who remembers Pogs?
Oh, we love Pogs.
Yeah.
Love a good Pog, love a good slammer.
Where's our Pogs movie, guys?
Oh, yeah, where is that? Can you imagine?
Movie? Did anybody have the Pogs board game?
I'm aware of it, but I don't know how it would function.
I felt like the only person. I don't know what happened. I don't know where my mum got me that from.
I had a little tournament mat, which was very underused.
Yeah,
but Monster in My Pocket board game. That was my thing. Monster in My Pocket was a big thing for me. I loved that shit.
When are Pogs coming back? Some of those slammers are brutal as well, weren't they? Sort of like razor edge.
Oh yeah.
You used to get some off-brand Pogs from the market where they actually were made of metal, so you could brain a kid.
You could make your own Pogs as well, couldn't you? Get a Pog maker.
Oh, a Pog maker and destroy your comics.
Yes, I have one of those.
Destroy your comic. You have one of those, yeah. You could just put whatever you want on it. Put yourself on a Pog.
They're probably worth about 10 grand now.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I've got it. Knocking about.
Can you imagine if you became a supervillain? Break into the Louvre with a Pog maker.
What's like
big Mona Lisa face on a slammer? You've done it. Your name would live forever. Then
it would. It would. That's. I'll think about it.
Ben Errington, Wikipedia: man who turned Mona Lisa into a Pog.
Into Pogs. There are loads of them. Okay, so horror news for the week. Fright Fest, we've already discussed, but Fright Fest Glasgow has just been announced for next March. It's going to be March 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Glasgow Film Theatre. I'm sure we will be covering that in one way, shape, or form. Chris, do you think you'll be doing the same?
I would like to. Certainly, we'll try and cover the program, whether possibly remotely. But I've never been to the Glasgow one, so
No.
it would be a nice excuse to go to Scotland for a weekend.
Yeah, it's a lovely place. I can recommend it. I've had a bad habit in the last 2 years of having to be in a different country the weekend this happens. But right now, there's nothing on the calendar, mostly because I haven't got a calendar for next year yet. But I'm very quick. I can get in there and write it in there super quick.
Write it in there immediately. The second you get your calendar for Christmas, your Pogs calendar,
Yeah.
get yourself on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March. I'm right. Fright Fest Glasgow. Regardless, I'm sure I'll be there too, Andy. I'll make my way there, even if I have to start walking.
If you make it all the way up and you can save yourself hotel costs, I'll say this now live. You can stay at mine. It's all right.
Can I? That's nice. Top and tail?
No, you can have your own bed and everything.
Not interested. Oh, well, yeah. So looking forward to that. That's awesome news. Just before, mere hours ago, before we went live, the first look at Robert Eggers' Nosferatu has gone live.
Very excited about this.
Yeah, exactly. First look image, courtesy of Empire magazine, and Eggers tells Empire it's a scary film, it's a horror movie, it's a gothic horror movie, and I do think that there hasn't been an old school gothic movie that's actually scary in a while. He ain't watching stuff, is he? And I think that the majority of audience will find this one to be the case, and the image is Lily Rose Depp's character Ellen, and the shadow of the iconic claws of Count Orlok, played by Bill Skarsgård. I'm glad we've got to finally see something, because this has been one where the more time goes by, I'm like, just give us something, just a little crumb of anything, and now we have a crumb, quite a large crumb as well. And the image, I think I've seen a logo as well, and it looks like all the social pages are going live too. It's legitimate.
So it's
How do we feel?
So I'm excited.
You're excited for it?
I think it's going to be good. I hope it doesn't go too Northman-y. I hope it goes more witchy than Northman-y.
Yeah.
I hope it goes early Eggers. But I think if one person's going to capture the style, he's a very good choice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because when you hear his name and then you hear what sort of film he's going to make, you can kind of picture it already, can't you? Which is good, I think, when you got a filmmaker like that, that you can rely on. And Bill Skarsgård is going to be, I can't wait to see what he's going to look like.
A naturally terrifying man.
A naturally terrifying,
a lovely man when you see him not in makeup, but very good at being a terrifying man.
Yeah, I hope it's not a CGI Count Orlok. I hope we're not going to get sort of,
Oh yeah, that would suck. It shouldn't be, should it?
Around like Cobweb.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, running up.
Which I liked, but a lot of CGI.
Yeah. I hopefully with Robert Eggers being involved, it's not going to be CGI heavy.
Just employ real scuttly people to be in your films.
Yeah. Long-nailed actors.
Long-nailed actors. Get yourself down the salon. Get your nails sharpened up. So also in the cast, Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult, Emma Corrin, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Ralph Ineson. Is that how you say his name? The man with the deepest voice.
I was going to joke that he should narrate the whole thing, but I didn't realize he was going to be in it.
There we go.
He was also... Have you guys seen The Pope's Exorcist?
Yes, on a plane recently.
He was the voice. Yeah.
He was the voice of the demon, which was very distracting. I just kept thinking he was going to, go into some rude quip about someone in the office.
It is very distracting because I always think of Finchy every time, even though the fact he's had a long, illustrious career being in amazing films, I cannot hear anything other than Finchy asking David Brent to say, what did you say the president of Cuba was? Fray Bentos.
Bloody good demon, that Ralph Ineson.
Yeah. But yeah, if it's narrated by him, hell yeah, I'm up for that.
Or Defoe. You can have a narrate off.
It's going to be. I'm really looking forward to this because I think they've really picked prime territory for a remake of this kind. Because obviously, we've had a big period of films that were big 80s, 90s being remade, and those come with inherent challenges that people will always compare them to the original and their experiences, not necessarily comparing them as films, but the feeling they had when they first saw this film coming out. Now, you managed to sidestep that very neatly when you remake a film that's over 100 years old, because all the people that saw that and have memories of seeing it for the first time when it first came out in the cinemas, long dead. Or at very least not interacting with you on the internet.
Childhood ruined. Nosferatu remade.
Childhood ruined. When I was 100 years old, when I first saw this at the cinemas, blew my tiny little mind. Now, quite safe.
There was always talk of it being Willem Dafoe playing Count Orlok, wasn't there? What is the... Because there's obviously a couple. What Willem Dafoe does play Count Orlok in the film of the making of Nosferatu, doesn't he? What is that called? I watched that fairly recently.
The what?
So it's a film about the making of Nosferatu. I do recall it, but I couldn't tell the title.
So Willem Dafoe is playing the actor essentially.
Okay.
And it was remade in the 70s as well, wasn't it? Shadow of the Vampire. There we go.
Yes.
Which is a good film. It's very strange. Like, obviously, it is supposed to be like a biopic about Max Schreck, but it's just very odd.
Yes.
It's odd in the way that it still makes out that Max Schreck is also a vampire.
We don't know that he wasn't.
We don't know that he wasn't. John Malkovich did it as well. I recommend it. Go and check that out as a nice little starter if you haven't seen it before we get the remake of Nosferatu. Okay, other horror news. We've got a prequel. Clearly, they're just going around in the dark trying to what franchise haven't we made a prequel for? Oh yes, The Omen. So now we've got a film called The First Omen, which is coming out next April. When a young American woman is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, she encounters a darkness that causes her to question her own faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate. Is that not just the synopsis of The Nun?
I don't know, I've not seen them, but just is it going to end with it being knocked up by a jackal?
Hopefully.
Yeah. There
Consistency,
we go. Yeah. I say there's not enough bestiality in mainstream cinema. I don't know about you.
Gotta find those gaps in the market, guys.
Oh my god, looking at the cast. Are you ready? Nell Tiger Free. No, Nell Tiger Free, great name. Tulfik Barham.
Wait. Is that her character, Tiger 3? Or is that her name?
That's the name of the actress, I believe.
Okay.
It would be great because if she was Tiger Free, I'll be like, Tiger 2. What happened to Tiger 2? Sonia Braga and Ralph Ineson or Einstein.
Hey,
he's also bloody in this.
Yeah.
As the jackal. Bill Nye as well. Interesting.
Oh.
See what's going to happen is she's going to have a fight with Bill Nye, and he's going to be someone from the church. He's going to do that scoffing that he does in Underworld, like, shushing people. And then they're going to have that thing, and there's going to be a big encounter. A faith's going to be tested, and then in like a post-credit scene, a bit like that Last Kingsman, where they like Thanos Hitler at the end. Oh no,
oh my
he's going to be back.
I forgot that happened.
But it's going to be like that, where she's going to have this big adventure, and then she'll be sitting in the bar, and then the voice will come in. Looks like you've had a long day. Buy a drink. Turn around. It'll be the jackal with his voice CGI'd in.
Red eyes.
Perfect.
Terrifying. I loved that when they Thanos in Hitler, because I loved that someone did an edit where it was like a crowd reacting to it as if it was the end of Endgame. So Hitler walks onto the screen and everyone started cheering. Yes, finally. Adolf.
I'll say something for that film, not horror related, but bizarre tasting Thanosing Hitler at the end. Not a bad movie, deserved more than it got. Came out at a weird time, I guess.
Came out at a weird time, it sure did. I've not seen it, but I've seen that clip. So obviously The Omen had a sequel with Sam Neill, and it had 2 sequels, didn't it?
Yeah.
The Final Conflict.
More than
2006 reboot. I don't know.
I saw that.
I've seen that.
Have I seen that? I don't think
I saw it at the cinema when I was a teenager.
Oh wow.
See on that bad boy The Omen's
freshly finished a POG game and then off to the cinema to watch The Omen.
There's no time to argue. We're just playing for fun, right? Not for keepsies. No, just for fun. I ain't got time to argue with you about that. I've got to go see The Omen.
I'm 10 minutes late for The Omen, 2006 reboot. See you in a minute. There was also a short-lived Damien TV series. Don't remember that.
Just about him being a bad lad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, probably.
Misunderstood. Trying to do his
Misunderstood.
GCSEs.
Yeah, there's a lot
Are
of
you the,
pressure on a boy at that sort of
are you the
time.
son of the devil? Or something? No, I'm just.
There's an Omen 4,
Oh,
There is
where
an
he's
Omen
just
4.
where he's just a
according
middle-aged
to the
dad trying to
internet.
do his best and get by, and he's working too much at Christmas time, and he's forgot to get his kid a toy.
Double Man. Okay, last piece of horror news. Moving on very swiftly. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is being released on January the 19th on PS5. Naughty Dog announced this week. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 came out right at the tail end of the PS4, so now they've gone, actually, we can make it look ever so slightly better and add some nice things in there. There's like a special edition with loads of nice bits and bobs as well.
Another 70 quid, please. Real life horrors.
It is actually going to be about £70, I think, because the remake of the first one was the same, the remastered version. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to kind of combine this, and then we're going to get. Are we supposed to be getting The Last of Us Series 2 next year?
I think so.
As soon
Has
as
it
that?
been
announced some of the
delayed
casting.
slightly? Is it going to be back end of next year, if not slightly later? Obviously, writers' strikes and actors' strikes and all these
Pedro
things knocked it back a bit.
Pedro Pascal apparently going to be Mr. Fantastic as well. So maybe it's going to be knocked back a little bit.
Yeah, ever so busy.
Ever so busy. Chris, are you a fan of The Last of Us TV show or games?
I've never played the games, but I did very much enjoy the TV show, and I very much enjoyed hardcore gamers losing their minds at all of the, all of the crazy wokeness on the screens.
What's that? There's a woman in this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
But no,
make
I did enjoy it. I thought it was very good, very cinematic, and pretty intense, I thought.
Yeah. Good series.
I mean, Last of Us 2, Part 2, the game is the one where I think people lost their mind about wokeness the most.
Right.
So how that is going to translate into Series 2 Series 2 of the TV show, who knows? But people should just get over it, shouldn't they? And just go, let's just enjoy this very, very well-made thing. We are very lucky to be watching a very well-made thing and enjoying a well-made thing. I didn't get The Last of Us Part 1 remastered for PS5, but it does look lovely. So maybe after enough years have passed, I will go back and play that again, because I think I've played it on like PS3, PS4 remastered, and then whatever else. And then it would be PS5. It kind of feels crazy. 3 different versions of it.
Maybe with this time that's passing, I will one day get round to finishing
you won't.
Last of Us, and then the second one, the game that I got with my PS4 during lockdown.
And the PS4 has turned 10 years old just this last
Don't
week.
even say me that. I'll turn
passage
to literal
of time.
dust.
The passage of time. Okay, so the next section of the show will be what we've been watching in the last 7 days or so. Anything horror or horror adjacent? Anything at all, Chris, that you wanted to mention? Doesn't have to be new, can be old as well.
Well, I very much enjoyed When Evil Lurks. Big fan of that.
Yes.
Saw that a couple of weeks ago, I think. I don't know. How often do you guys do? Have you talked about this already?
We have, but we actually owe it a little bit more of a lengthy discussion. We talked about watching it, and we were perhaps going to record something a little special. But as there's 3 of us here right now, why not talk about it? Straight away, When Evil Lurks, I think mainstream English language releases, much like a lot of the director's previous work, aka Smile Looking at You, are going to be ripping off lots of the shots and the scares from it. And I think it's going to be topping a lot of people's most intense horror moments this year as well.
Yeah. Just and it did possession stuff well, which is, hard to do in a original sense. It was very creepy. The kills and a lot of the gore was so unexpected, just people getting torn apart left, right, and center and run over, and it was a lot. It was good. Very graphic.
Very graphic, very intense. I think the only thing, maybe the final third of the film for me, I think like the rules established by the movie got a little bit muddled. I was a bit like, I don't really understand necessarily what is happening or what this means. But I think all the work it did before that was great. And like horrific shocked moments where you knew something terrible was going to happen. As soon as there's, without spoiling anything, as soon as there's a kid on screen, as soon as there's a dog on screen, you're like, come on now, please don't make this go the exact way I'm hoping it's not going to, and it does pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you guys see
very-
Terrified, his other film?
Yes.
Yeah, we did an episode on Terrified
Nice.
about a year or so ago now. Really, really
Yep.
liked it. Picked up a lot from it. I know that apart from, reading literal translations in the thing, obviously, if you were reading it, like watching it and understood the language fully, you might be able to get more out of it. Because obviously there's cultural differences as well as just what you're reading versus what has been translated. But I still found both of them really effective. And as I say, I saw Smile before I saw Terrified, and then the bit with the woman walking up to the car door, I was astounded when I saw it in Terrified. I was like, oh, this film came out earlier, and then has been entirely lifted for what I think was possibly the most effective scare of that film. And genuinely, I think that it's really telling the quality of a director and cinematography that they can make those scenes and those levels of scares that can then be pretty much lifted for other films, like using it really, really directly referenced from it. I would suggest, not using a directorial technique known as copying, but obviously very heavily influenced by having seen that really effective scare. So I think there'll be a lot of people who are watching this, perhaps releasing some of your big, bold cinema releases, where now that has been broached and that has been designed and that has been delivered. I think that will be inspiring a lot of people's storyboarding and things like that going forward, particularly the scene that Ben alluded to with that little boy who's given cause to drop his toy car down the stairs ever so suddenly because something terrifying happens. I think it's very effective. And we saw it in one of the short films at Fright Fest as well called Safe. I think you put certain situations together and then very, very effectively not just plays on the fact of, this is a scary monster or this is a violent thing that's happening, but it plays very effectively with like your sensibilities and not so much your fears, but your anxieties as just an adult that's out in the world that's seeing these things happen. I know I can be sitting in a park, and if I, despite not having children myself or being responsible for any of them, if I see a kid in like what looks like a precarious or dangerous situation, even if it just looks like they're going to trip over and hurt themselves, I'm like all the hairs on my arms are standing on end. It's like, oh, something uncomfortable is going to happen. And when you've managed to weaponize that feeling and put it into a horror movie, incredibly effective.
It's like the opening scene of Casualty, but feature length. Where you're just like, what terrible thing's going to happen? What are we going to see? What am I going to be worried about for the rest of my life? Yeah. Pretty much that.
Yeah. It was very
good. Anything else at all for this week? Is that pretty much it? Or
I saw the new Norwegian Christmas horror, There's Something in the Barn, last week.
Oh, yes. I think we've got that scheduled for us to see, Andy.
Have we? I had it on my Christmas list, films to watch this Christmas. What did you think?
It's I liked it. Actually, the embargo was lifted today, so I can talk about it.
Amazing.
Exclusive opinion. I thought it was really fun. It's somewhere between Home Alone and Gremlins, but with Norwegian elves. And it's got sort of that American quirky humor with the sort of Nordic backdrop. I really liked it. It's probably could have gone a little bit further with some of the gore and the laughs, but overall it's a solid Christmas horror that I think will be a new kind of staple for a lot of people. It's a good fun horror.
Amazing. Love adding new Christmas horrors to the regular rotation for the years with It's a Wonderful Knife, and now hopefully this. Hopefully I'm going to watch it this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's good. I recommend.
Andy, anything you've seen this week?
A couple for you, Ben. I've been working on some series of late because, it's a bit like a film, but you've got to dedicate several more hours. So it takes me a little bit of time to catch up with them. But I stopped trying to do one episode of one series at a time just for a hot minute, and I finished all of Disney Plus's revival of Goosebumps. you know what, first
Oh.
episode, I was like, oh, is this pitched a bit young and I've got loads of things to watch? But I stuck with it because it was good background watching, and it's incredibly sweet. I think straight away as an entry into horror, I think it's got a really nice touch. It's got enough of the old things that were around when we were younger, playing with our pogs and so on, when Goosebumps was first out. Lots of it influenced by, I would say, the early books and season one of the television series, but aged up appropriately. They've given a little bit more stakes, made a bit more serious, but at the same time, genuinely, it's quite funny. It's quite the writing is quite amusing. Justin Long is great in it. He's obviously Justin Long's doing fabulous work in horror, and for the things that he does in there, he is really good. Plays kind of a multi-faceted role, so he gets to do some villainy, he gets to be a little bit hapless and comedic sometimes. But I found myself on a couple of occasions, a bit like with today's film, in fact, where there was just something that was just quite sharply written and quite funny. And I really enjoyed some of those like understated moments and just some of those little bits of comedy. It's stupid bits that really get me laughing, and they don't like pause and wait for you to laugh and move on. So it's not pitched like a joke. It is just something that is they're saying, and they don't pause and give you a little wink. And it's not in the, you know, some of the late stage MCU stuff where it's like, oh, that just happened, and you know, it's become trite. There's just one little bit like where they're fighting some monsters at some point, and they just like land up together, back to back like old times. It's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, I'm just yes anding you. And that I liked it. It was fun. So series of 10, it's all on Disney Plus right now. I think a little bit of homework then. I'd love to see someone who it's probably gauged towards opinion. So if you want to sit your daughter down and say, right, 10 hours, watch this, see what you think. I'd love to know someone whose age it's probably pitched at and what they make of it. I'd love to know if young people getting into horror find it scary or it's boring. It's going to great for 40-year-olds.
I'd be lucky to get her to watch one episode, let alone 10. So, you know, maybe I could see what happens. I'm trying to get her to watch Five Nights at Freddy's with me for the last maybe 2 weeks. Still haven't seen it.
Other than that, just to wrap up, I've just started a couple of series. So now that's out the way. I've done the first 2 of the latest season of Chucky. Made my opinions on the first 2 seasons that really clear. I really enjoy it. So started season 3. Tell you what, everyone's in ever such a lot of bother because through various contrivances, you'll never guess where Chucky is this time. That's right, it's not a spoiler, it's in the posters. He's living in the White House. He's being looked after by the president's son. So
amazing.
Lots of antics go, and it doesn't hold back in the least. It is probably, because of the way that they've obviously mastered these effects and everything, probably gorier than a lot of the films. It's really, really violent. It's really funny. It really doesn't pull back on anything. It's mad. It's completely like meta and in the weeds and things like that. It's really, really good. So really enjoying that. First 2 episodes of that down. I think they're on mid-season break right now. So in terms of actually being out, I think the first half of the season is done, and then the second half will be out towards the back end of the year. And then just today, I watched the first episode of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters as well. Horror adjacent. It's got monsters in it.
That's on the list. So many things. Yeah,
it's good. It's really good. Like,
it looks great. It looks like it's got like the Hollywood movie budget.
Yeah. What you can say about Apple is they're spending an awful lot of money on the things that they're making. It feels immediately like they've invested in it and it's expensive. It is pretty much like between the people that are in it and the budget they put into effects, like, yeah, it's really prestige television. It's good. I'm enjoying it, and I like Godzilla. So as I can't watch Godzilla -1 yet, despite the fact I saw in the news the other day it's nailed like a 100% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I can't see it yet because I don't think it has. Certainly not a cinema I've seen. I don't think it's got a UK release yet. I know a friend that's in Japan was gutted that it's all over everywhere, but he doesn't speak Japanese, and he couldn't find a a screening that had English subtitles on it for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing Godzilla -1. But this will keep me Godzilla up until that day.
It's going to keep you topped up.
It is.
Until that day. Kaiju topped up. I mean, I saw a film this week, but it's not really horror, but I'll mention it briefly anyway. I watched The Killer, the new David Fincher film. Don't know if you see it as well?
Yeah, I saw it at the London Film Festival.
Oh, you did? Oh, sweet.
Yes.
I kind of liked it. I thought it was like a very purposeful thriller. I still feel like it struggled to hit its stride. I wasn't expecting anything like a John Wick or something like that, because I felt like it was very measured in terms of like the action set pieces and that. I don't know how I felt about the constant narration. I feel like that took me out of certain scenes where I feel like I feel like there could have been tension, but the narration, which was very like, it was good narration, it was very well written, and like the themes and faults it was kind of portraying were great. But yeah, it took me out of it a little bit, and I feel like the final third of it kind of just tails off a bit. So not my favorite David Fincher movie, by a long stretch. But Michael Fassbender is great in pretty much everything, isn't he? So I watch him in pretty much every, and Tilda Swinton, of course.
Yeah, that was my favorite. My favorite moments were between him and Tilda Swinton. It just felt a bit like a depressing American Psycho, really. Like it had that sort of I'm going to put on my hair gel and all, but I was just like, I'm gonna walk down the fucking street if I have to.
His character reminded me of his character in Shame. Like, even though obviously he was addicted to being a hitman, he wasn't addicted to sex, but just that kind of like, oh bloody hell, existence.
Yeah, it was very mopey.
It was incredibly
stylish
mopey.
And mopey.
Just sick of it. Absolutely fed up.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is I've nearly finished. I haven't read it yet, but I'm nearly there. The Rats by James Herbert, my first James Herbert novel. And I don't know if either of you two have read this, but it's about killer rats, bloody massive, horrible, killer flesh-eating rats in the UK in the 70s, in London in the 70s. And it's brutal, and it reminds me of something like, I don't know, maybe like the 80s remake of The Blob, where no one is off limits. Kids are getting slurped off by the rats. Dogs are getting killed by the rats.
That's a bad choice of words, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't read the Rats
I feel like
yet, I was watching. I've heard
it was a different time. It was a different time.
It was a 70s,
the
right?
The rats have completely different morals to your eye. We're putting human morality on not just rats, the rats.
We can't put them on our on our standards. So that was bad of me. Sorry.
In my defense, I think me and Andy have definitely got to the point where we use slurped off for pretty much everything apart from what you might think it would be for.
Anyone getting like taken away and eaten off.
Anyone getting got means slurped off.
Yeah.
Cancel culture. These rats can't do anything. In the 70s, they could eat babies. They could eat dogs.
You see, that's my introduction to it. I knew you were reading the Rats, Ben, but then when we were at Thought Bubble Comic Convention the other weekend, Ben was talking to someone came over, big horror fan, talking about horror novelizations. They were talking about the Rats together, and then the thing they both went to, Ben was like, "And he a baby in like chapter 2."
It's what everyone knows it for, What's that? Oh, I wasn't so sure about this book, The Rats. It wasn't great. What happened? Oh, a baby got eaten in chapter 2. Actually, it was great. 10 out of 10. And it's a part of a trilogy as well. The next book is called Lair, which I'm probably going to read next. It's intense. And I'm surprised that like a movie hasn't been made of it. There is a movie called The Rats, but it's like some rats in New York, like taking over
it's about some rats. Not what I expected at all.
It's about some rats, and I feel like this one, you could tell they're British rats, right? Because they've all got Cockney accents, and they're all hard working. They're all nails. But yeah, I recommend it. James Herbert is always one of his authors that I've, for some reason, never read anything of his. But now I'm going to hunt down some more of his work. Definitely.
Eating babies in chapter 2 of the first book of 3. What they're going to be doing by the end of the third one.
Yeah. Well, the next, I've also got a copy of his book, The Fog, which is not related to the John Carpenter Fog.
Is it the fog what makes you go mad?
It's the fog which makes you go bloody mad, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the fog that makes you eat babies, mate.
It's the
turns you into a rat that eats babies.
Yeah. Slurps off a baby. That's me. That's it. That's what I've got. down for this week. I
Apart
guess
from, of course, the film of the week. 'Tis the
Apart
season and all
from-
that.
sometimes it takes us a little while to get there, but we're getting there. The film
Oh, yeah.
of the week, which is Thanksgiving, which is a 2023 American slasher film directed by Eli Roth, based on Roth's mock trailer of the same name from Grindhouse in 2007. How many Grindhouse trailers have we had now? Machete and now made into movies, sorry. Machete and Thanksgiving, is that the only two?
Machete, Thanksgiving.
I still
there's at
want
least one more,
Werewolf
isn't there?
Women. Werewolf Women of the SS. I want that more than anything. Oh wait, Hobo with a Shotgun as well.
That's it. Hobo with a shotgun. There's the
yes.
Hobo
last
with a
one.
Shotgun, yeah.
So we've got Werewolf Women of the SS to go, and Don't featuring
Don't.
Emily Booth.
Yes, come on, Emily. The film
We've
stars.
had Nope, so
Yeah,
Don't
that's
feels
true.
like a
That's kind of similar. Isn't it?
close
Prequel.
second. Yeah.
The film stars Patrick Dempsey, Addison Rae, Milo Manheim, Jalen Thomas Brooks, and the synopsis is: after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, not that Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. There we go. So, in terms of ratings so far, it's only just been released, but 7.1 on IMDb, on Rotten Tomatoes, 83% critic score, 78% audience score, 3.4 on Letterboxd, and some choice reviews for us to discuss. Cinema Joe says, very clearly inspired by the classics of the past, but instead of being a boring derivative like so many of its modern peers, it has a ferocious and hilarious personality of its own. 4 stars. Matt Neglia says, Thanksgiving is so aggressively over the top, but at least it knows and embraces it. Eli Roth's slasher film features some of the most gruesome and hilarious kills of the year. 3 stars. And Carmen says, you know a slasher movie is going to be good when they introduce 20 plus characters in the first 10 minutes. 4.5 stars. Jesus, that's a high ranking there. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that when they were introducing so many characters. And I think it's good when they introduce so many characters and within the first line or so, you're like, can't wait for that person to die.
Oh, they do some heavy lifting in the opening scenes. Going, oh God, I hope loads of you die immediately. Like between them, like, well, we'll get to it in a minute, but like parking in the disabled bay and then just being real bad blokes. So like petty things, which I think as a British person will cross the cultural barriers here, because obviously we don't have Thanksgiving in November in this country for overseas listeners. We're not thankful for anything. We have our November holiday is the time we burned to death that man who failed to kill the king that day, like 300 years ago. But otherwise no November holidays for us, really.
No. Burn to death a guy. Do you guys have penny for a guy growing up?
Yeah, people go around saying penny for the guy.
Yeah.
Usually outside a large supermarket.
That's exactly. I've seen it. I saw it merely like whenever it was, like a couple of weeks ago. Couldn't believe it's still going. Or penny for the guy.
Yeah, I do that all day there, Ben. Got
that old
quite
scam.
a lot of pennies, haven't you?
Begging. That old scam.
Yeah.
Well, what am I getting in return here? Just giving you a penny for having made a guy. And this guy, which I saw, was a teddy bear in like a pillowcase, and they just stuffed the pillowcase with clothes, and it just looked hard. It was a monstrosity.
That's all right. It wants to be a monstrosity.
Once you get outside the M25, they really start to tail off with the quality of the guys, I have to say. Though I didn't see any teddy bears in pillowcases. They're all crocheted. They're all crocheted around South London.
Lifelike effigies in South London. Got that like real uncanny valley.
It was
like,
an actual
AI
guy.
skin.
They actually set a guy on fire around my way.
Good.
And he was grateful for it.
Yeah.
Grateful
Price
for
of
the
heat
warmth
in these
this time
days.
of the year.
Glad to be set on fire. Weather's
Cost of
turning.
living.
Bloody middle class guys. Jesus, with their avocado toast.
You know what they say though, Ben? You know, give a man a fire, it'll be warm for an evening. Set a man on fire, it'll be warm for the rest of his life.
There we go. Thanksgiving.
Which is 20 to 30 seconds, I believe.
Yeah. But so Thanksgiving it is. So that's our holiday. But meanwhile, in America, they celebrate something a little bit different. Thanksgiving, and they celebrate it by a poor bloke in a house full of people having a lovely dinner with 20 or so introduced characters, being pissed off because he's got to go into work because some horrible business owner, some capitalist, has made him open the shop for Black Friday a day early. Horrible.
I always get a bit confused by Thanksgiving, and maybe I should pay more attention. But I'm just like, they're just having Christmas dinner, aren't they? What's the difference?
It's the same exact dinner except more pumpkin pie, I guess.
Yeah, is that it? Why can't they mix it up a bit more?
Cauliflower cheese, is that a thing?
Yeah, sweet potatoes thing that have actually got marshmallow in them.
Yams. Is that legit? I feel like you've made that.
For real. I've been to the US around Thanksgiving and I had that. Everyone bought a plate of stuff into my office. Tell you what, unusual choice.
Is this the second week in a row?
Nice,
is this the second week in a row we've talked about?
We've definitely spoke about those sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato and marshmallows again. That feels like a fever dream.
No, it's a real thing that happens. It's nice. It's nice.
It's
incredibly
cheese
bad
grits
for you.
and corn pudding.
Yeah,
apparently.
Okay.
Cranberry sauce, obviously, for days. They have to have more turkey there though, because
human flesh.
They've got more turkeys over there.
Not on the traditional list. Apparently, that's optional.
But I tell you what, though, all credit to Badman Thanksgiving. That looked pretty delicious, actually.
I mean,
morally repugnant, but
I don't know if it did.
I gagged a little bit at that.
It looked a bit. It looked a bit stringy.
Oh, if it was just have a taste of that, I reckon it looked all right. I've eaten worse at school dinners.
All right, Hannibal. Jesus.
They weren't serving that at school dinners. Too expensive, not cost effective.
In terms of the cast, Patrick Dempsey is Sheriff Eric Newland. And then it's just like loads and loads of people playing a group of kids who piss off the Thanksgiving man, and then various other people who have also gotten the wrong side of him based on how they behaved at Black Friday sale. And we've all seen videos of it going crazy in the US. I don't think it ever goes quite as crazy in the UK.
Because we have queuing over here. You just queue up nicely, go in. I mean, people are getting bad over here. I know friends that work in retail, they will have people queued up outside the day before the January or the Boxing Day sales or whatever it is that they start.
Yeah.
And we have Black Friday over here now as well. Certainly I get enough emails about it. My goodness. But we don't have people outside the shops in furious riot gear getting ready to go for it.
That's pretty nuts because you're like, just get online, isn't it? How desperate can you be? Can you be for a waffle iron? But those savings, they can really get you. In terms of how this is in comparison to the trailer from Grindhouse, obviously the trailer made the film was a bit more silly and pulpy, I guess. Well, of course, this film is silly, but it feels like it is a much more modern era slasher with like the kind of brutality of the kills. It feels like that's the next stage for slashers to go. Is like we want the kills to be even more brutal and horrible and sort of like in bad taste, I guess. But there were some good kills. Sorry, go on.
I was thinking it was going to go more down the kind of grimy, video nasty kind of feel, and it was a bit more slapstick in places, and it was very knowing, and I thought it was very well done, and the gore was pretty shocking in places, but you never felt in real kind of danger at any point watching it. It felt very still had that kind of shiny, fresh, modern feel to it.
Well lit. Everyone looks very nice when they're not being murdered.
Everyone's incredibly attractive in this film, aren't they? Pretty much, which often can take you out of it somewhat. Get some mingers in there. That's what I say. Come on. Just a few, just a handful,
just for a bit of background color. But everyone there is very handsome. But we begin then with quite an intensive scene. So basically we have a very, very brief introduction to loads of characters, but then the store's going to open, the store manager's having to go in because there's only 2 security guards, and basically everyone on like the crowd barrier outside getting ready for this Black Friday sale is just taking it in turns to say variants on no fuck you to each other. But then
what this scene seems to do is establish like a motive for like about half a dozen people. Which is good. I think that's good. And it also kind of felt like a Final Destination sort of opening sequence as well, where you kind of like, you knew something terrible was going to happen, that some people are probably going to die, and you're kind of keeping an eye out for certain characters to see whether they will like live or die. And yeah, they killed off some characters that perhaps you thought were going to be bigger parts of this film. In particular, is it Gina Gershon?
The wife, the
yeah,
stepmom?
the wife who gets
The mum?
scalped by a trolley.
The mum who's made a lovely Thanksgiving dinner, and then she goes to take in like a bit of turkey to her husband, and yeah, horrible no fuck you lady smashes her with the trolley and then gets her hair stuck in it, and as you say, gives her a really graphic scalping.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so it's intense. Obviously, the main group of kids get to go in to the store before it all kicks off, because the daughter of one of the characters is the daughter of the owner. So they go in. Everybody kind of kicks off because of that. One guy grabs the bullhorn thing and says, "Let's open, let's go." And yeah, it kicks off. The door gets smashed inwards. Somebody immediately gets their like throat slit on some broken glass.
Oh, I know, and then still crawls over to buy a waffle out to like cradle a waffle out iron in a damning.
A deal is a deal.
Yeah,
you never know.
A damning look at consumerism. Yeah, and this mad scene. Can you imagine though the scenes if just over the way from there? Look at all the scenes of avarice and privilege on show. Can you imagine if just sitting in that car park, John Kramer, Jigsaw himself, had just been driving past? He'd have been jotting that down as a list, wouldn't he? He'd have been like, right, get and make some traps, mate.
You're all screwed.
Yeah.
I almost think, of course, we are going to be spoiling this film throughout, so it might be good for us to. We won't spoil like the actual main twist until we get to it. However, it almost does feel like a lot of people who are getting marked in this first scene to be essentially carvered. Feels a bit harsh sometimes with some of them, because it feels like, did they really are they really to blame? I know some of them are, sure, but others, I was thinking maybe like the security guard who just legged it,
the one who ran away when he was completely outnumbered, by rioting people. Yeah, but I guess once you've gone mad and you've decided you're going to carve people, then once you've crossed that line.
In terms of like motive, and again, I'm not going to be spoiling who it is, but in terms of motive, we go very quickly from standard revenge to straight up cannibalism. And that jump for me, I was almost like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about that, or whether I entirely believe it, or whether it was all just part of the show.
If you've got a big industrial oven as part of your secret base, then that's going to lead you to a certain direction, right?
Yeah.
If he'd have had a mini muffin oven, it might have been a different film,
Yeah, or just had like a big sewing kit in there. They'd been turning them all into like teddies or something like that, making guys for pennies. The British version.
Yeah.
A mini muffin, one of those ovens that cooks things with the little light bulb,
little red light bulb.
Yeah,
lovely.
You'd be there for weeks.
Holding the door over them for 3 to 4 hours.
I think that particular scene, and of course we will get to it, but that particular scene with the meal and everything was very B-movie, schlocky, and
probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, that was very good.
Okay, so obviously with everything that happens at Black Friday, we there's more people who die until the sheriff fires his gun into the air to sort of stop everybody kicking off. And we get a lovely title treatment, a lovely font. Is it the same font as from the trailer? I feel like
very similar. Yeah,
like the sort of cartoony blob.
That's a schlocky
bleeding
like, B-movie bleeding.
Yeah,
like scene, and then classic inciting event, and then naturally 1 year later.
Yeah, so naturally 1 year later, after the tragedy of it, of course, the effects of it are being felt throughout the town. Still 1 year later, Right Mart is preparing for another sale, going, hang on a minute. I know people died last year, but profits are very, very important. And then Mitch, who's the husband of Amanda, who died, is essentially one of the main mouthpieces who's kind of shouting off about that. There's a lot of protesters involved saying Thanksgiving, not thanks buying,
Yeah.
which is good. I like that. Yeah, and
The daughter's kind of a bit strange because her dad has now married the woman that was like the fiance on the scene, right? So now they're married.
yeah,
Doesn't really get on with a stepmom who also is kind of driving the idea that the shop
yeah,
should be open and they should make lots of money, and is kind of again set up as maybe a victim or a potential antagonist character because she's always like inserting herself into conversations, and the daughter doesn't appreciate it, doesn't really like it very much. Her boyfriend who was like a superstar
oh yeah, he got like
baseball pitcher gets a really gruesome arm break.
Yeah, the old silicon arm flap. Yeah,
yeah, and he's just ghosted her because obviously I guess his like career is in the mud, so he's just like, right, I'm just gonna vanish off the face of the earth. And I guess this film is doing already is just establishing motives, but also establishing who potentially could be the killer.
Could be any one of them.
It could be absolutely
sort of Who Shot Mr. Burns vibe.
Yeah.
And even some really good, like completely unconnected wildcard characters, like basically
I like the guy who's selling the guns.
Yeah, Boston Q, who is
yeah. Oh yeah.
Bostonian Q, who's like, I've got all these gadgets here.
Don't you dare tell him you don't know who Black Sabbath are, because he'd be absolutely fuming.
It'd be so fucked off with you. Yeah, so you've got all these characters that are there in the town. So things have moved on. But you know, there's still the same problems. Lots of other things are not resolved.
A lot of new faces in town as well that it's established. Like there's a new policeman, a new like partner for the sheriff who's kind of turns up, and he's like a serious big old unit of a man. I kind of wrote him off immediately when we see John Carver because I was like, he's a bit smaller than potentially. I was kind of, rather than kind of following the clues to try and work out who it could be motive based, I was really trying to work out who it could be size wise.
It's like the start of an episode of Murder, She Wrote. It's like, oh, they've got gloves on, can't see the hands.
We'll never know. Yeah, and obviously a lot of people are wearing these John Carver masks around the town.
Classic Halloween Michael Myers or like Scream moment, isn't it? Where like, oh no, these masks are readily available. Anyone could be getting one of these.
Yeah.
Going to be the Halloween costume of next year. So
yeah,
looking forward to that. Carvettes.
The Carvers and the Carvettes. Yeah, and initially we see everyone gets like tagged in a social media post with the Thanksgiving table with their names around it. I think this is before anybody dies. The Instagram account is called The John Carver. And I think everybody just writes it off instantly as just
he's lucky to get that. The John Carver.
Yeah, he's fine.
He must have joined early before he wanted to become a murderer.
Yeah.
He knew what was coming.
He knew it was happening, exactly.
Very good social media branding.
Yeah, he thought, right, I'm going to do this because probably one of those discussions, you know, said, oh, if you ever were a serial killer, what would your weapon be? And like, what would you he probably had that conversation and thought, right, if I ever go mad and need to take revenge on the people of the town, I reckon I'm going to do it dressed as a pilgrim, a famous pilgrim. And then he did a
BuzzFeed quiz in 2005 and has finally figured out what his purpose is.
Oh, which costume based, you know, what olden times costume or character from folklore would you be? Oh, John Carver, niche.
I think as well, of all the masks, this has got to be one of the worst ones to wear as a killer because you're literally looking through the tiniest little peepholes in the plastic. And I feel like it's got no longevity to it. I feel like you could easily snap that off someone's face.
We see, don't we? He's got a big stack of them.
He's got a big old stack of them, yeah, just in case he leaves one.
He's got these wholesale. He's got himself a pack of 20 because when one gets burned, because he leaves it on top of that big oven. Bad design feature, if you ask me. If you can basically put something on top of there and it burned, don't want your oven getting too hot on the outside. But whenever something goes wrong, because he gets hairsprayed in it once, he can probably it's got a big stack next one off the pile, no loss.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
I haven't really paid attention to the fasteners though, because they're giving them away in this Waffle House to begin with. Is it a classic British 90s mask where it's just a little bit of elastic stapled onto either side of the plastic mask, or have they
I
gone a
think
bit
so.
more
It's a risky
robust?
move. He could have exposed himself Scooby-Doo style at any point.
Yeah. Or did he
But-
perhaps have, because you can see he's got some sort of like hood on it, well,
Like a
not hood, but
balaclava
like a
as well.
balaclava as well. Maybe that's part of it. Little snood going on. Yeah, and very quickly we're introduced to this waitress named Lizzie. We kind of saw her in the first scene as well. And she is the first victim of John Carver. And
What do we think of this kill?
Remind me what happened.
So this was
this is in the diner.
Pushed, get a bit of a splash of water,
yes.
bit of a Friday the 13th, like from
Jason
underwater
X
shot.
moment.
Love
I thought
blowing
that,
bubbles out there, and then her
Yeah.
wet face is put onto thing. Just takes a little bit of skin off, and then he gets her in
a
the
little bit of
camera.
skin.
Yeah, comparative to her entire body, just a little
I
bit.
kind of felt
it was a bit Dumb and Dumber kind of tongue on the ski pole sort of comedy twisteroo, and then some horrible stuff actually happens. But
yeah.
I
don't know. I feel like
a few times
it became a bit cat and mouse, and maybe I thought the first kill needed to be a bit more like, I thought he was just gonna slam her against the freezer and then bang, you're dead. But then of course the final moment of the kill is driving her into like a dumpster, but then she just like splits in half as she's
ever so sharp bin lids in Plymouth, New Hampshire. Plymouth, Massachusetts. Sorry,
the edges
straight through
edge of that dumpster. And then somehow, if that wasn't difficult enough, lowers the lower half of her body onto the right mark sign, right on the M.
Yeah.
Not an easy move.
Not an easy move at all. No, I can't even begin to fit some sort of pulley system going on, right? Just like the collector last week, Andy.
Yeah, probably got him on the phone and said, right, the collector, I've become obviously had a little chat about it, but you're not sort of spider screamy mask and sort of padded face spooky. No. I'm dressed as historical character John Carver. Oh, that's all right then. In that case, I will give you some help with
some tips.
Pulleys and the like.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's worked out initially. Did they just work out that Lizzie was at the Black Friday riot? Does he leave like a calling card?
I mean, he posts the picture of the Thanksgiving get together with her there, right? Because he's keeping the top halves. I think he's shown that. I think he's being quite open about. Yeah, just today's update. I mean, Chris, you're an active live content creator. He puts even you, a professional, in that sense to shame, because he is so on it. Updates are very, very regular.
What are the rules against
he's got his storyboards all set, and he knows what he's doing.
What are the rules against posting dead bodies on Instagram? I feel like that would been shut down immediately, right?
Top half is fine.
Yeah,
top half is fine. Yeah,
I'll make a note
as long as there's no suggestive element.
Yeah. As long as any bits that would be covered,
as long as there's no
modesty,
yeah.
Don't post a dead body with the nipples out. You will get a soft ban for that.
And obviously this post tags everybody in it again, and we see the
just done a murder. Lol. Hashtag all your names.
Tagging everybody as well. And I think it is initially just worked out that people who were present at the Black Friday riot are being targeted by John Carver, and the CCTV footage from that night has been deleted. But we find out pretty quickly that it was the wife of the owner of the store who deleted it through fear of some sort of lawsuit, isn't it?
She deleted it, and the daughter, who is our main character, sort of said, I didn't really stop her, but there are backups that stay on the system for
exactly
a year.
Exactly a year.
Yeah.
We'll go and have a look.
Today's so we're coming up fast to that time when they're going to be deleted. So she's kind of left to wrestle with, is she going to help with that in the investigation?
Bobby returns to Plymouth after his arm got broken and he just ghosted. But he's all right. We I don't feel like we were supposed to sort of expect it was him involved, but she's got a current boyfriend called Ryan. I just kept thinking, what's she seeing in this guy?
Ryan, what a prick.
Yeah.
What a prick, but also like a bit of a creep, bit of a douchebag. I know he was trying it on with her in the early parts of the film, but I was like, what's she seeing this guy? Tell him to do one. Tell him to jog on. That's what I do.
Mostly telling people that he's going to be more successful than them in the future.
Yeah. What a lovely,
so yeah, you're
what a
going to
lovely film.
park my Porsche, mate. Oh, okay.
And what Jessica and Bobby do is basically when they get hold of the footage, they take it to the sheriff, Eric Newland, played by Patrick Dempsey of Grey's Anatomy fame, right? And what horror has he been in a horror movie recently? I kind of
Yes. Google.
he has been
That's up recently. I've never seen Grey's Anatomy, but he's been in like 200 episodes of that or something.
200 episodes. I think. Oh, he's in Scream 3, Detective Mark Kinsale.
There he is.
Maybe
Scream
that's it.
3. That's the fella. That's not recent, obviously.
No.
And Racing Driver, American actor and racing driver.
An actual racing driver. Yeah, that's what I just saw. That's crazy. A man of many talents.
It's an Enchanted and Disenchanted.
I'm assuming
Transformers.
He's in Ferrari, which is out soon.
Doing actual racing driving, I bet.
Quite possibly.
He's in the stuff.
Yeah. What?
He's in the stuff.
As underground stuff by number 2. His first role. That's the role that set him on the path of being a successful actor.
He was in Catholic Boys before that, which I assume is a film and not a life choice.
Either or, could be either or.
Meatballs 3.
There you go.
Nowhere near as good as Meatballs 1 and 2.
No.
So yeah, essentially what kind of happens is John Carver like claims more victims as the group of kids get tagged in more. I don't want to say kids, but they're bloody adults, aren't they? Get tagged in more and more posts of like the bodies. So people who get killed include the right mark security guard guy who ran away, Manny. He's got John Candy energy because especially in a yellow coat, he looks like John Candy in Home Alone.
Although this is where we prove John Carver not an entirely bad bloke, because
that's true.
As he kills the security guard, remind me how does he get
takes his head off with the wire from behind?
Oh,
so
yeah, he auditions him, doesn't he? He uses the piano wire to chop off his head, and you think, oh, you're a bad bloke, but he's not, because as he's about to leave, he goes, hang on, no one's going to feed this cat, are they? So then we get a lovely little scene, probably my second favorite of the film, where you just see he's put the biscuits down for the cat, and he goes, there, pat him on the head.
Not going to kill you. It's suggested at this point, I think, that John Carver is a professional, because that kill is very suave. Taken off. Can you be suave when you cut off someone's head like that? Maybe not, but that was very professional looking. And then later on, grenades, smoke grenades, silencers. Very
this guy or lady know what they're doing.
Military background potentially. And obviously we will discuss. Very, very precise, yeah. And probably got superhuman strength, it seems, but maybe the mask does that. I feel like that does that for a lot of slasher.
I think any like masked killer, you're so much more powerful when you have the mask on. Must give you like a huge buff to all of your major killing stats, and then you lose it because how many times, even your big hitters, even your absolute A tier guys like your Michael Myers, you get that mask off them.
Yeah.
-2 to everything.
That's true.
Real bad.
Because I feel like if I walked up behind someone and tried to snap their neck, I'd probably just like do them a bit of good rather than any harm. I like snap their neck and they, oh, that's brilliant actually.
or just get off. What are you doing?
Get off.
Is that the third? Is that the third kill at the school? Have I missed any? So with the security guard is the next one that are double at the school.
So we get the security guard and then a double at the school, who are from like a rival school to the main characters. And yeah, the main guy, like the jock guy, gets his neck completely turned, gets exorcisted.
Yeah.
Gets 360. Well, actually 180.
He gets
180
180 degrees twisted, but he does that on the way to. It's an odd, unusual thing. It's like, hey, what we do at the school? Follow me through this sort of Narnia-esque cupboard through loads of clothes and costumes that are here to just this trampoline area where you can sit on this ample seating and watch me do a trampoline show in and while I try and take my clothes off. But
impossible states of undress. I thought so. There's a particular move. She was doing the splits as she was landing. I thought when as soon as that knife came up through the trampoline, but it didn't. It got her in the feet and got her in the hands and then stabbed her. I thought it was pretty effective though. That was pretty gruesome. I thought.
I wondered what was going to happen there because she's bounced on the trampoline. Obviously, what's his chops has had his head twisted right off. And then what's going to happen there? And then she got pierced with a spike several times.
I wanted a moment there where she's going, "Look, then, have a look. I'm over here. Don't look over there." Oh, bloody hell.
You're not even watching.
You're not even watching, you loser.
She gets spiked many times because obviously that's the problem with the trampoline.
Yeah,
you go up there.
By its very nature.
Yeah, you're going to be bouncing all over it. I liked that was an effective. That was an effective one.
But John Carver.
Do we see underneath the trampoline though? Does it like? Is he just sort of just awkwardly crouching under there?
I guess he's trying to time it.
But obviously he kept the body of the first victim and kept the head of the security guard, but the bodies of the next two, Amy and Lonnie, I think that's right, Amy and Lonnie, they disappeared. They've been abducted. They're gone. They've vanished. And the same thing soon happens to two more of the main characters, Evan and Gabby. Evan, what is this guy's? He is like a serious douchebag. Pays some. There's like a young kid who he pays to do a.
It does an essay, right? And then
does an essay.
One of those.
Oh yeah.
One of those smart bullies. Well, like he basically goes, "Oh, do as much essay for you," and it's like, "She's gonna like this." The teacher goes, So the guy is like, she wouldn't like it any better if she'd written it herself, which basically means he's plagiarized the teacher. But before he gets done for that, I love again all of the big over the top kills and everything like that. And then one of the things I enjoyed most in this movie is just that little scene in the classroom where they're reading things and he goes, "And that is why I will never celebrate Thanksgiving ever again."
Yeah, that was
and
good.
Like there's the group of the class just giving a big round of applause, and then he just lifts his top up to reveal incredible abs while he dabs his like eyes on his his jacket. So funny.
Two girls with him as well, just consoling him.
Yeah. Poor guy.
He's living the dream. This guy. He's living the dream.
Poor ripped guy.
And he's not implicated in the murders at all.
No,
this is the only
see him again.
In.
That's it. Amazing.
There's an alternative film just about him having the best Thanksgiving.
So there's like because of the killings of Amy and Lonnie, there's a football game gets like postponed.
Cancelled.
Evan and Gabby.
Another great bit where he's like, "Well, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to go and play football." And it's like, you can't play by yourself.
You can't play by yourself. Well, I'm going to play try. You're great. I'm going to do every role. So obviously, even though there's been like a certain amount of murders, like the towns, we're still getting like the Jaws scenario, aren't we? Where everything's kind of going on as normal.
We've still got a parade, obviously.
The parade's still happening. The owner of the store still wants it to open. I don't think he's decided yet that it's going to close. So yeah, everyone's still in danger. I don't think anybody really knows. I guess in terms of motive, we know that John Carver just wants to kill everyone who's involved in that Black Friday riot for whichever reason. Did you think it could have been anybody in particular at this stage?
Well, everyone seemed too obvious. They kept sort of making a big deal of it being the ex-boyfriend, the current boyfriend, the I thought it could have been the wife at some point.
Yeah.
So again, I was looking at height and all that stuff, and then I was like, I bet they're gonna, it's gonna be someone completely different, and they're just gonna gloss over the fact it's completely different body shape or whatever. But
I was suspecting the dad for a little bit because we never really go into that. We know that that's the stepmom and the mom had previously died, but we don't talk about that. It's like, oh, has he got previous? It's going to be like a Judge Doom situation. Remember when I killed your mother? And they have a big high squeaky voice.
I figured it out just before.
Yeah,
there was a couple of telltale moments, but
I think, it was getting to a point where I was running out of like suspects, and then I thought, well, in terms of the size of this person, possibly this person, So Evan and Gabby disappear. They're soon abducted. That is when John Carver tries to attack our main character Jessica. She managed to avoid being killed and legs it. We get obviously a moment where she's hiding a bunch of
disembodied heads.
Loads of disembodied heads. You just hide under the table regardless when you wouldn't try and blend in with the heads.
Put your head up
just for aesthetics of this film. Oh, just one of these heads. Don't worry about it. Could you just be worried he's just going to swing?
Very calm as well. Very calm. Just very casual.
Yeah, proper Scooby-Doo hiding.
About to get your head lopped off.
Because the mannequin heads, because this is like it's like a hairdressing and makeup department of their school, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I feel like it could have only gone one stage further if you put on like a barber's uniform and gone, right this way, sir, your haircut.
He's gone, oh, actually, I do need a little trim, Thanksgiving's.
The pilgrim looks not in this year, mate. And then just tries to take the hat off and realizes it's a disguise. She's got away with that, and then this is where they go to the subplot. There's a big old party going on by Boston Q, who
selling alcohol to kids,
and he sells alcohol to kids, but he also does nice things, aka just give his friends guns to protect them. He gives them a they look at enormous guns first, and then they just have a regular old size gun. And he offers our main character a belt knife. She goes, oh, no, thanks. No belt knife for me.
Not interested.
Chekhov, well, the opposite of Chekhov, whoever the opposite of Chekhov is, Jeremy Clarkson's belt knife doesn't come up later at all. Like, it's just a device that some would say in a lesser or more straightforward and rote film, she would say, yeah, I will take that belt knife and I'll have it on, meaning it will inevitably use that. But she goes, nah, thanks. That's a bit much for me. He's got a gun anyway.
He's got a gun anyway. It's fine. Just make sure you keep the safety on because you don't want to blow your nuts off.
Yeah.
And then basically there's another character, Yulia, who is Scuba. There is a guy called Scuba, yep. Because his surname is like Diver, is that right? Something like that.
Is that what they call him that?
What was it?
Diving.
Diving. All right. Okay.
Diving, scoop, yeah.
Bit of a stretch, really.
That was a sort of joke where I could, because there was only 8 people in the screening when I went, I felt everyone kind of go,
oh God.
Do you reckon he's engineered that nickname for himself?
Yeah, he must have done.
Yeah.
Scuba Steve. So essentially Yulia, like her Russian dad, is like, oh, I'm just gonna take you to Florida because people are getting killed in this town, so let's go.
Dad.
What a smart dad. But John Carver gets there first, and this is where we start to really see the tools at John Carver's disposal, because he starts shooting people with tranquilizer darts, which is interesting because it does go to show that he is only killing people that are essentially on his list. Everybody else is kind of, if they're just in the way, then you
tranquilizes a builder, just leaves him against the door. I assume he's fine, and the dad.
Yeah.
But Yulia, I thought we were going to get something with the eyes because we pause on her putting her contacts in several times, right? But
that was pretty good. Yeah.
Which is uncomfortable in itself. But then, just after we get a tiny bit of foreshadowing when she gets the ear pokers out, she ever so gently cleans her ears. Before you know it, corn cobs in the brain.
Corn
Lovely
little Thanksgiving reference.
Yeah. Corn cobs in the brain, and then maybe a Susan less Thanksgiving-y pushed onto a circular saw.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was carnage, wasn't it? Because that was like someone just do something. The fact that she kind of just fell onto this saw, and it was like just getting worse by the second.
Where's the bloody stop button? We've been to D&T lessons, they would have told us where that was straight away. Hit that.
Well,
button.
I've seen enough of those shopping channel videos to know that there's an emergency cutoff if you rub a hot dog within 1 millimeter of those things.
Yeah. Come on,
they just fall into the machine, and it's not
QVC.
this thing. Yeah,
maybe John Carver has gone and ever so subtly in those few minutes where they're all tranquilized, he's had enough time to quickly just switch that off.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
A manual override.
Yeah, he's done it.
Like there's literally a switch underneath it. Switch to make dangerous.
Someone switch this sword to evil.
Yeah.
So she gets disemboweled.
Yeah, very gory.
Very gory and quite tragic.
They
the way
they don't lean back on the gore here. It's spilling out of her.
Yeah, and it's quite tragic when like Steve. No, his name's not Steve. It's not Scuba Steve. It's when Scuba is like holding her, saying, "What do I do?" Yeah, it was pretty tragic. But again, like I feel like the relationships between these characters, I don't know if I cared enough about any of them to feel that tragedy.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously, I know I'm quoting like one of the best slasher movies in terms of like something like Scream, where when certain characters die, you definitely feel the tragedy of them being sort of taken from their groups of friends or their family or something. But with this, it was just like the body count rises.
Yeah.
Everyone is very disposable.
Very disposable, yeah. And then we got a plan by the police to lure Carver out by having the family and everybody else participate in the Thanksgiving parade. And then what were they saying when the float gets to the end and everyone's alone?
Basically, go to the thing and pretend there's no one there, but actually everyone will be there. The police, everyone. And when John Carver turns up, he'll be captured.
The second they said that one of the guys at the Black Friday sale at the start of the film liked to dress up as the turkey mascot, I knew the second he said that, I was like, that is it. That turkey mascot is getting. As soon as I saw the turkey mascot, that's it.
That suit only had 1 day left to retirement.
Yeah, and it was really going to be packed in that day. This is the last time I'm going to do this, everybody. And then you get a lovely tense scene as they drive through the streets. You see, oh no, he's got a John Carver mask on. He's got a John Carver. Good job it's not Halloween too. You'd be crashed into by a police car and immediately exploded. But you see all these people in a John Carver mask, and then before you know it, film in a clown outfit, like the Joker at the start of the Dark Knight, just steps around the corner.
It was
chops
like that.
The turkey's head off.
Very.
It was a Killer Clowns from Outer Space look as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, big rubbery clown face, and he chops off the turkey's head, and some poor bloke who's just driving the car gets his face smashed through by a fake boat.
That was brutal. So like his kids are next to him as well.
Yeah.
And just like this goes through the back of his head, and like his nose was all
his nose is sideways. That's brutal.
It was incredibly brutal. And I feel like this film just goes, right, here's a horrible death, and now just blood, geysers of blood.
And it keeps on it. We visit him a couple of times where his kids are screaming, getting soaked in blood with his face smacked, like hole punched. Someone's pogged his face. Cut the center out for a little image.
Is this pog made out of human flesh? No. That's weird.
And the police are rushing the family. So the mom, the stepmom, I should say. Stepmoms are moms. But the mom, the dad, the friends, everyone gets in there. But unfortunately, they just immediately all get tranquilized by the man, not John Carver, but disguised in a third disguise. So basically, the man disguised as John Carver has now disguised himself as a clown. They all get captured, and then before we know it, the stepmom is waking up being absolutely basted and seasoned to perfection by John Carver.
I mean, this is brutal. This almost made me. It always goes from a horror movie to like some sort of high stakes crime thriller in this moment.
Yeah.
Like the smoke grenade being thrown, like everybody panicking, and then suddenly just it was intense. It was intense.
There's not much tonal consistency in this film. It kind of flips backwards and forwards between sort of slapstick and horrible and torture porny and quite cartoony. It's I did like that, but also you can't really keep up with which way it's going.
Every scene kind of had a sort of different thing going on, didn't it? Really. So yeah, the first scene we get is is with the mum waking up. What's the mum's name? Is it Jessica? Kathleen.
It's terrible because I remember barely anyone's name from this film because they're just who they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, he's
Kathleen.
like, she's tied up. She's surrounded by vegetables. He's basting her. She does quite good.
Gets Percy Pepper out, really works his way up.
We've all been there. Are you basting me? Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend to be asleep if this is happening. But yeah, she's quite sort of calm and collected in terms of her escape as well. There's a lot of like tense moments where she's hiding and bodies are kind of dropping out and appearing.
There's a poor that she opens the fridge and there's some dead people, and she opens the fridge and there's a girl in a plastic bag in the fridge.
I'll come back for you. It's all right. Don't worry.
But she's not. Why did you stand there just vacantly, like staring as if dead, until she went to take the bottle of wine out?
Just in character.
Well, she could have been in on it. It's the classic, pretend to be a mannequin head all over again.
Just catatonic, sitting there in the thing, giving up on
Don't
life.
worry, I'm good.
I'm good. I'll come back.
Now you've said that,
good character.
I trust you completely. But yeah, she, we have a bit of cat and mouse. She's hiding, but she does ultimately get captured. She gets a fork thrown at her just as she gets out the door.
Yeah, and I kind of like this when somebody is sort of being kept being kept captive and they manage to essentially escape. They get out of the front door, but then nope, brought straight back in. And we get to see John Carver's kind of setup. He's living in he's kind of, what's he got, like a mattress in the living room? He's got loads of Wi-Fi.
All his money's gone into
just like your classic gamer.
Yeah,
classic gamer.
What setup you got, John?
Yeah,
I got 9 routers, and then just that horrible stained mattress on the ground.
I found that in a dumpster, but
some of those little hexagon color changing lights on the wall.
Yeah,
nice.
Such a good streaming setup and commercial kitchen. So
yeah. And what are you eating? What are you doing to keep energized? Well, cans of Monster, obviously, but also human flesh.
Yeah.
Regular intake of human flesh. He's and mini muffins.
Ever so good at cooking it. He's given her he's given the mom a lovely egg wash.
Yeah.
So she'll brown up in the oven, and that's as she wakes up, having been forked.
Oh,
she wakes up thinking, "Oh, bloody hell! Feels like her back's got 4 holes in it." But that's not important now, because I'm in an oven. Just as he's putting it on.
I mean, it is horrific. The fault of this, but also like the scene watching her kind of slowly die, essentially, as the temperature of the oven goes up. But yeah,
what does he open the oven for? Because at first she's like, "Oh, please, I beg you." He opens the oven and pops it. Oh, he puts a little thermometer in her, right?
Oh yeah, he sticks a little thermometer in her.
Or is that to release
mad,
the
isn't it? Like
one or the other.
Might be.
You should never, as a good baker would know, you should never open the oven halfway through cooking something. It's just a recipe for disaster.
All the heat escapes, right?
She's gonna come.
Yeah.
She's gonna.
She's just gonna sag.
Yeah, she's gonna sag. That's it. Not gonna get a good rise out of her, but he has.
But this is where, like John Carver, like in my head now, I'm thinking John Carver is an absolute psychopath, terrifying.
That was the point.
Yeah, but like that was the point. But you know what I mean? Like,
hang on a minute, something's not right about this guy.
From being just like a killer, like just killing people out of revenge, to suddenly like this is just like twisted. I mean, it's more than twisted, and it's almost like a game, isn't it? Like the act of making this a Thanksgiving meal.
But then we get the tonal shift again, where he is quite. This is a bit of everything. This is a little bit Hugo Weaving's V for Vendetta because he's doing some acting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he shows himself to be an absolute monster in this one because he serves what is a red wine when he gets that girl out of the fridge and whacks the cork. You've chilled a red wine? Absolute monster.
Disgraceful. He does say you're going to have to let that breathe.
Come back to room temperature. So yeah, he's chilled a red wine, which is one of the girls from the other school that he's got in a bag. He serves up the mom. I love his pun work here because he gets. I don't know where he got a cloche that big from, but he puts he's got the big centerpiece of the table. All of the family who were captured wake up, and he goes, you've really got to be thankful for the work that your mom has done. She's been cooking for hours. Very good.
Very, very good. He's loving it.
He spent
He's
all
absolutely
year
loving it.
writing that pun. This is going to be worth it.
He's like,
Yeah.
I've got to deliver this one. And then he spoils it a little bit. He goes, right, I'm going to go around the table and say what we're thankful for. You first. And he doesn't ask him what he's thankful for. He just bashes his head in with a big old hammer.
Yeah. I mean,
You've
the
not
effects,
committed to your bit. You've forgotten immediately.
the effects are good. I think that's one thing not mentioned yet, but the effects are good. And I think bludgeoning a head with a hammer, very reminiscent of Kill List, someone getting their head smushed with a hammer.
Or what's it called? Midsummer. That guy gets a bonk on the head in that, doesn't he?
Just a harmless bonk.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. He bonks out the sports playing douchebag who apparently left town. And that's the one. And he goes, "You first, mate." And then he doesn't ask him what he's thankful. He just bonks him on the head with a big hammer.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Boston Q did pop in towards the chat scene, the trap scene rather, and go, our main character girl, do you want to take this ring? It saved my dad's life in Iraq or Afghanistan, a war place. He goes, it saved my dad's life in a war. Here's this ring. And he doesn't take a moment to reveal it's because it's got a knife in it like the belt did. So for a second, I suspected Boston Q here. And I was like, is that a tracking device? Is that how he's going to see through the thing? And then also we saw that this guy's got loads of military tech. So even though he's not shown with any motive, it made me suspect him for a minute.
Definitely. Does he say he obviously says his dad was in the military when he mentions that kind of got me suspecting him, but it was just a bit of a red herring, wasn't it? And it's
just a bit of character color because he doesn't do anything bad. He's just a nice bloke. Well, he does sell alcohol to kids. Apart from that, though, stand-up guy.
It was your classic guns aren't that bad kind of character arc.
What you need is good people with guns like this bloke.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a gun, is there? And I'll have a bloody blunderbuss, whatever that is.
Of course, we got that mentioned earlier because he asked our main character, "Have you ever fired a gun?" No, only a musket, and that fucked me up good and proper.
Chekhov's musket.
Yeah, Chekhov's musket. Well, Chekhov's musket mention. You don't know there's one.
Chekhov's musket loading technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she escapes with the ring. Scuba Steve gets his
we do see just before that, John Carver tries to feed a piece of Kathleen to the dad, Thomas Wright, and it just looks very gross, very stringy.
Makes him right poorly, doesn't he?
Sinewy and stringy. I was a bit like, oh no. And he's throwing up. He's obviously got a gag in his mouth, but he's throwing up anyway. Yeah, it was brutal. That's the guy from at the end of Hostel as well, isn't it? That Rick Hoffman.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, is he the guy that is paid? He's like the
American guy.
Users. Yeah, the American.
He's an American guy at the end who's like, "Oh yeah, what did you do then? Who did you kill? Who did you batter?" So yeah, obviously Eli Roth, a friend of Eli Roth's. So Jessica pretty much escapes.
They escape. He pursues them, and he does manage to bash Scoob, but he does bash Scoob, and he breaks his arm, but he fails to catch. I'm just going to read Jessica. Jessica's our main character.
Yeah, she jumps over a fence.
Yeah, she escapes from him, and rushes to see the police. Well, no, to try and get help, and then she runs to a warehouse, and she finds the sheriff knocked out, and she sees her ex-boyfriend milling about in there. Thankfully, the sheriff wakes up and captures him. And
we see a moment where Bobby has got the mask on, got the Carver mask on, and he takes it off.
An orgy of evidence that he was the murderer all along.
Seems that way.
But the police, the sheriff gets back up. He shoots him, but gets away. But don't worry, all is safe now, and we're all good. But what I was about to say on this one is, I feel like they could release you couldn't watch until after you've watched the film, but with a couple of characters who we don't necessarily see what happens to them. You feel because it feels like this escalates to an end point and then ends very abruptly. but then I feel like there could be a little separate ways bonus content on this one. You could basically see the killer getting these other people in hindsight, but we don't see any of that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So we're at the police station.
I mean,
Everyone's good.
I definitely didn't think, oh, it's Bobby at this point. I felt like all felt too convenient. Yeah, and I knew that some other sort of reveal was on its way.
It's got to come at you quick though, because at this point I looked at my watch. It's like there's got to only be about 5 minutes of this left.
So the police arrived. They informed that the survivors are safe. I think, like they say, Thomas Wright, the dad, had to be like
he's poorly, but he'll be all right.
He had to be. Did he have to be sedated or something? Because obviously, I guess that's what happens.
He's had ever
that's
such
what happens when your
his wife's been cooked, and then John Carver by name, Carver by nature, it's ever such a neat slice. He's gonna eat a bit of this, then,
Eat a bit of this. Oh, he doesn't know. I feel like it could have gone one step further and made him eat it. I think that would have been very effective in terms of that scene and how that scene ended. Because again, it just feels like that scene is such a setup for this scene, and it feels like it's kind of over and done with very quickly. Like, oh, they just escaped. Or
it's almost disrupted, isn't it? Because like this scene is playing out, but they go, "Oh, I've escaped. See ya."
Yeah, a bit frustrating. I wanted to see how it played out. I wanted to see how far he was going to take it. Yeah, and this is where Jessica and Newland, Sheriff Eric Newland, are chatting, and Jessica notices the same brambles from the fence that stuck to her also on Newton, like on his his shoes.
He's got like some dandelions around the legs of his trousers, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then there's that like, the look out for the mistakes.
It's always the little mistakes gonna be trouble. Get him caught. Yeah.
Yeah. And he pretty much immediately realizes that he looks down at the
dandelions on my bloody legs. I have to kill you now, aren't I?
Plants.
Bloody hell. And then
the film's been about meat, and then there's fucking done in by a plant.
Yeah.
Done in by a plant. And then he gives us a nice big exposition dump explaining to us why he's been doing what he did. He was having an affair with Amanda, who is the wife of the guy who was working at the store at the start, Mitch, when she got scalped by a trolley. She was gonna run away with him. She's gonna leave her husband and go and start a new life with
by
Newland.
the way, they were having a baby. By the way,
they were also having a baby.
Oh yes, we get a scan picture.
Yeah, we get a scan picture on his orgy of evidence that he had. Look at this. Pulls down like a little tarp, and all of his murder plans are on there.
Yeah. So this was his motive to become John Carver and wait a whole bloody year and seek revenge, meticulous revenge on everybody. And then what does Jessica say?
He goes, right, I better do a murder on you now. And then before you know it, ex-boyfriend Ex Machina smashes through the window.
Well, before she reveals that she'd been live streaming.
Oh yeah, she was live streaming his confession.
I was live streaming his confession the whole time.
Yeah, she goes, you forgot to ask me what you're thankful for. And she's like, what's that then? Excellent Wi-Fi service.
Wonderful Wi-Fi, and he knows the benefits of having great Wi-Fi service. He's aware of that.
It's all them routers he put in.
So yeah,
Bobby setup.
Bobby smashes through the window.
Left this logged into my Wi-Fi. Shit.
The two of them fight off Newland. I can't see. This is it. When the killer is now just a civilian, I don't know. It kind of loses a bit of its gloss to me. I would have liked him to put the mask back on, go back into the role of John Carver. Now it's just Newland. I'm a bit like, oh come on.
No, he's weaker now. Hasn't
just
got
a bloody fella. He's just a bloody feller. Yeah, there's a few good moments where Jessica obviously starts filling up a big, not inflatable, but like how do you describe the big turkey?
Well, yeah, like a big turkey bouncy castle.
Yeah,
giant
with
turkey
gas.
Hindenburg.
Yeah, why do they fill it with flammable gas?
Well, that's what we do with it. I mean, before we take this big one out into the streets, we fill it with flammable gas.
Should we not use a helium? Something like turbo hydrogen only.
Yeah. And this is where they're trying to escape in the truck, but Newland hooks the thing around the support beam so they can't get away. He's approaching them with an axe, and then this is where Jessica's knowledge of using a musket to shoot a parade balloon, which is apparently what she did when she was a kid.
Obviously, more symbolism required. Not only the skill of the only gun she's ever fired, a parade balloon representing Thanksgiving, the holiday that this is set around, but also the little
yeah.
locket that was about from her mom, who is dead from the start of the film. She said, "Oh, my mom gave me this." She whacks that in the musket, and then she fires it and explodes him once and for all.
Explodes him once and for all. The turkey explodes. We don't really see necessarily what we just see him kind of like fall down or like fly away. We don't see him like obliterated, do we?
No.
Do we? No.
No, because he has to come back cobweb style to be in nightmares forever.
Yeah. So essentially, next morning, Bobby is taken away in an ambulance. Jessica reunites with everybody, and again, surprising that so many people survived. It kind of reminded me in a way of the way Scream 5, I think it was 5, yeah, it kind of had established a lot of these sort of mainline characters, but most of them survived. So it does almost feel like it's got one eye on a sequel. So Gabby, Ryan, and Scuba, they're all alive. And yeah, there's a moment where the authorities sort of described we couldn't find Newland's remain, but he was definitely incinerated. There's only ash in there.
Incinerated. Ignore this really clear, this fireman that's conspicuously still wearing a mask,
walking in slow-mo towards the camera.
And they literally look at him. You would even like at this point, it's not as even as if this is in the sequel and they have clocked, oh, remember that moment, and it's retrospective. They're suspiciously looking at him. Then you'd say, actually, given what we've been through, do you mind just getting that fireman to take his mask off real quick in case
you went in there?
They'll use that scene in the sequel. It'll have some heavy metal music over the top and some But I remember that scene where he walked really slowly.
It'll be the jigsaw music. John Kramer's at it again. So we just end with a little scene of a little dream jump scare where for some reason she's going out with a douchebag boyfriend still. He's survived and is fine. And she goes, let's go back then. And it's just her waking up and the cupboard door's open. She goes to close it and then a fiery John Carver is there and he slurps her off into the burning cupboard. It's okay, that's just a nightmare though. Wakes up in the morning and goes, actually, I'm just terrible. I'm just psychologically damaged by this. Oh, well, happy Thanksgiving. The end.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And sort of weird graphics burst out of the cupboard and sort of go, way, thanks the end. Hey. And then everything's fun. Anyway, enjoy your turkey, everyone.
Enjoy your turkey. Enjoy your marshmallow, whatever you have with sweet potatoes. Delicious. And there we go. That's Thanksgiving. Done and dusted. We're going to play a bit of name game now. Then, have you got some name game, Andy?
Got a couple for you, Ben.
Got a couple for me. Wonderful. Basically, Chris, what we're going to do is describe a film very, very similar to Thanksgiving. And based on our clue, with a synopsis, you have to tell us what the title of this movie is. It's going to sound very similar to Thanksgiving based on our clue.
For absolute clarity, this is not an obscure film knowledge game. These are not real films. It's just a word game with rhymes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm glad you're adding that now, Andy. Actually, that makes.
I think we've confused a few people recently.
Yeah. Okay. So the synopsis is: after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Yeah. So my first one then will be after a MotoGP-based riot, a small island is terrorized by a murderer dressed as a cat, but a special type of cat with no tail.
Manksgiving.
Very good.
Manksgiving?
I had absolutely no idea what that was, Andy. Well done. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth because he's actually sick to death of a certain famous Hollywood actor, named Tom, telling lies. He's sick to death of it, and he's going to kill everyone for it.
Hank's fibbing,
correct.
Yep.
Oh, nice. I was just going to go straight with Thanksgiving, but there was more to it.
There's more to it. Sometimes there's more to it. Sometimes there's less. There's not always.
Another one that's got less to it, but after a terrible after a terrible Black Friday riot where his good arm is terribly damaged, a a man having recovered and gained a special skill as a result goes round and is thankful actually for his experience. So wants to share the gift. So goes round the town giving everybody wristies.
Oh,
Wanksgiving.
Wanksgiving, very good.
giving everybody wristies. That was the most complicated, convoluted version of Wanksgiving ever. I was like, where's this going?
But you
Just
have
wanks
to,
everyone
otherwise it's just crude, isn't it? You can't
There's a
say
bloke and
you
he
can't
just
say the rhyme in the clue.
gives everyone.
You can't say slept off in the fiery cupboard. It makes it too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wanksgiving, yeah.
Wanksgiving.
Nice.
Okay. After a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer begins making a table of his favorite days of the week. Yeah.
Making a table of his favorite.
Maybe not necessarily his favorite days of the week. Maybe just his favorite days of the year, of a whole year of his life. He makes a table of his favorite days of a whole year of his life.
Oh, like a table, not like a piece of furniture.
Yeah, like a table.
Okay, I thought. Okay,
one to
Ranksgiving.
Nearly is every day of every day that he's
ranks living.
That
he ranks living.
Friday the 21st of November was great.
That was a top 10.
That was a top day. I've got some in the relegation zone. These are terrible days.
I was too fixated on furniture.
Yeah.
This is when a guy went.
Table.
The best day was when that guy went around giving everyone a hand job. That was a fantastic day.
If that was the serial killers you're dealing with.
Beat that next year.
That would be the sequel. Wanksgiving 2, beat that.
Yeah. Any more, Andy?
No more. I
got one more. I got one more. This is surprising. Okay, after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer just has a lovely dinner with everybody involved. And his task of the dinner is... Oh, he sets a task for everybody at the dinner, to... Okay, I start describing these and I just can't... I don't know where to go with it.
To give everyone some military equipment.
He uses a particular kitchen utensil to drain water from the vegetables. Everyone's got to do that. Come on, everybody do it. All of you American people, get involved with Thanksgiving and drain the water from the vegetables using this kitchen utensil.
Tanks.
American people.
Tanks things.
Is it Yanks sieving?
Yanks sieving. Correct.
Now,
I feel like what
you're like the red wine guy now, because a sieve is for making sure the finest particles get through. Use a colander to drain the water.
Oh no!
Absolute heathen.
But I feel like
this party is over. Everyone out.
Yeah, sorry. Take your chilled red wine elsewhere, Ben.
This podcast was great until the guy got confused between colanders and sieves, and then you've lost the listener, unfortunately.
Ben's gonna have to do an iPhone notes apology. I know when you listen to the Horror Hangout podcast, you expect a certain standard. My mistake last night of getting 2 kitchen utensils, which are, arguably very similar, wrong, was unacceptable. It's not what I expect or what you should expect.
If you have been affected by any kitchen inaccuracies in this episode.
Loads of complaints about that. Absolutely zero about Wanksgiving.
And slurping off. Okay, so now we've got to rate the movie. Rank A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Rate good or rate bad. How would you like to rate Thanksgiving, Chris?
I am gonna go solid B. Assuming we're going with a standard A is good. F is not terrible.
Yeah. Okay. We're not crazy.
B. I thought it was very enjoyable. I think in some places it was a bit too used its cheesiness to get out of kind of exploring some characters or exploring some heavier dialogue or some more interesting story points. But for what it was very good fun. It was very gory, funny in places, creepy in others. did what it set out to do, and it one of Eli Roth's better films, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it definitely is one of Eli. Oh yeah, I was trying to think about how it compares to the rest, and I think it is one of the best. Yeah, tonally it is a bit all over the place, but I think I can forgive it for that. Great kills. I think it's kind of what you want from a slasher movie, isn't it? Where you want the kills to be more and more over the top and gory and ridiculous. As I often feel like with a lot of whodunit slashers, it always kind of falls apart for me a little bit when the killer is revealed, because I'm always a bit like, oh, really? Is it just you and you're just getting revenge for reason A? I mean, I get it, but it was pretty nuts. John Carver was going full cannibal. Well, no, he didn't drink any of the wine, did he? He didn't drink any of the blood.
No.
Didn't eat it. Didn't eat any of the flesh. He was just
He's just doing
suggesting
it for gross out factor. He's just like a little boy with some slime from Nickelodeon going, way, and like, frightening people. It's like a kid with plastic spiders.
So, and I think after discussing it, I'm probably going to go for a B-, just because some of the elements, perhaps, that when now we've discussed them in detail today, I'm a bit like, they could have done it slightly differently. But overall, I think a very enjoyable seasonal slasher, definitely. Andy?
For me, I'm going to join Chris on a B, like, not perfect by all means. I think you really struggle, and I know I've had 20 years to remember these names and find them, but like I feel like I came out of Scream the first time. I know Sydney is, I know Gail Weathers is, I know what they're all about, I know those characters, I know Deputy Dewey, I know all of them, all your big hitters. No Cotton Weary, even him, even Sydney's dad. Whereas this one, I've had the IMDb in front of me and I've had to pull up a couple of times. I know the characters. I think there are some good horror Scream acting behind them, but the characters didn't engage enough, probably because there were so many and we got 2 minutes with each of them and you never have a cause to remember their names. But it's a good slasher, memorable kills. I like how hard it goes and how much it leans into, we didn't touch on it, practical effects work largely, and doing some really fun over the top kills. I like that it leaned into the holiday rather than just being, I killed this person with an axe or a knife. It just happens to be there are this holiday decorations. Or if it was leaning into the holiday about it. We mentioned Founders Day. I think a lovely pairing with that. If you ever fancy a double bill of a new slasher,
definitely.
I feel like you're getting lots of good modern options. You could build an entire slasher calendar to set you a full year. So yeah, lots to enjoy. I would recommend, if you haven't listened to this and just absorbed the spoilers, or bearing in mind it's not an episode of Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, you could probably still enjoy this without having, with it being spoiled for you. If you haven't watched it, I think it's worth a go. I think it's interesting. I think you'll have fun with it. Doesn't take itself too seriously, and again, some good iconic kills.
Awesome. Wonderful. There we go. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Where can our listeners find your stuff online? Social links, of course, we will put everything in the show notes as well.
So pretty much everything is at Big Fat Cult. So TikTok is my main platform, but also on YouTube, Instagram, sporadically dabble around X, and but yeah, mostly TikTok and YouTube as Big Fat Cult.
Awesome.
Nice.
Amazing. And thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our patrons in there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or a review. We're on Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us. Next week, we're covering Dead Silence with M, aka Jigsaw Killer, joining us as a guest. Don't think she's the actual Jigsaw Killer.
She was. She'd be watching this. She'll have loads of
plot
people.
Twist.
Yeah.
Plot twist. Don't know.
He has got lots of what's it called? Apprentices. She could be one of them.
Loads of apprentices. Too many, I say. There we go. That was Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for joining us, Chris. It's been a blast.
Thank you very much. It's been a
We're
pleasure.
very thankful, Chris, for you joining us.
We're incredibly
Hey.
thankful.
The spirit of the season.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your turkey, American friends. I mean, enjoy turkey if you're eating it wherever you are in the world, but, seasonally to our American friends.
Don't eat human flesh. Bye-bye now.
Unless it's an emergency. In that case, you got to do what you got to do. Survival's important. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.